We in America are misinformed. Reality shows have warped our idea of what a hero is, or what the truth is.
F you, I don't want to be this character anymore.
Who wants to even see a movie about with some stereotypical characters? What's the always talking about keep it real? We have 25 years of keeping it real and being real and all that. You really see that's reflected in the movies that they make. The characters are trying to be reflective of, you know, people in society. The stereotype, especially some stereotype successful, that's gone. I ain't seen no stereotypical that was successful since the 70s.
Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy aren't random celebrities throwing shade for attention. These are two absolute giants of comedy icons whose words actually carry weight. Jim Carrey didn't just rule the 90s. He completely redefined what a movie star could be with that wild energy and zero fear of looking ridiculous. And Eddie Murphy, he was already changing comedy history long before Carrey ever broke out. Delirious and Raw weren't just successful, they rewrote the rulebook. So, let's be clear, this isn't clout chasing. This isn't petty beef. These are two men who built massive empires on their own terms. They don't need favors, they don't need headlines, and they definitely don't need Will Smith's approval. Which is exactly why what they said actually matters.
For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
For nearly 30 years, Will Smith sat comfortably at the very top of Hollywood. His movies pulled in more than $9 billion worldwide. Studios catered to him. Award shows celebrated him. The media packaged him as the perfect family man who had life all figured out. But here's the uncomfortable reality about Hollywood. Protection has nothing to do with loyalties, even less to do with morals. It's about money. As long as Will kept the cash flowing, nobody was going to question his behavior, his marriage, or the increasingly uncomfortable moments involving his kids. That silence wasn't accidental, it was part of the arrangement.
You're not looking kiss my son. I can kiss my son. Jaden, come on.
Are you okay? God, this is ridiculous.
Then came the Oscars. That standing ovation after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. That was the moment the mask fell. The industry exposed itself in real time. They weren't applauding bravery, they were applauding profit. Toxic masculinity got a free pass because the man delivering it made them rich. And that's when Jim Carrey finally said what a lot of people were already thinking. He openly admitted he was disgusted by what he saw.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
We all watched Hollywood throw up a protective shield around Will Smith. Every rumor, every awkward moment, every question that should have been asked, ignored. Why? Because he was simply too valuable to confront. That's exactly what Jim Carrey meant when he called Hollywood spine. Instead, applause wasn't support, it was a message. Do whatever you want, as long as the money keeps coming. But live television doesn't allow rewrites. Once it happened, there was no editing it out. The corruption was suddenly right there in the open.
Want to yell from the audience and disapprove or show a disapproval or say something on Twitter or whatever, you do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
And Jim Carrey didn't stop at blaming the industry. He went deeper, and this is where things get interesting. In his signature philosophical tone, Carrey broke down what he believes was happening inside Will Smith. According to Carrey, the slap wasn't really about defending Jada. It was about frustration, ego, years of pressure finally exploding. He said Will spent decades building an image on Avatar, a flawless protector, constantly craving validation. So when Chris Rock joked about Jada, it didn't land as comedy. To Will, it felt like someone cracking that avatar, pulling back the curtain on a persona he'd protected for 30 years. And his response was to defend it at all costs, even if that meant slapping someone on live TV.
It didn't escalate. It came out of nowhere because Will has something going on inside him that's frustrated, and I wish him the best. I really do. I don't have anything against Will Smith.
Now, while Jim Carrey analyzed the situation like a philosopher, Eddie Murphy took a completely different approach. At the 81st Golden Globe Awards, While accepting the Cecil B. DeMille Award, a Lifetime Achievement on Air, he delivered what might be the coldest punchline we've heard on an award stage in years.
Pay your taxes. Mind your business. And keep Will Smith's wife's name mouth!
And this wasn't just a joke, it was a calculated strike. Here's why it landed so hard. Eddie Murphy hates award shows. He avoids press. He keeps his distance from Hollywood's fake rituals. He's openly said being in a room full of famous people begging for trophies feels awkward and forced. So when someone like Eddie, who's dodged this circus for decades, shows up, accepts an award, and then clearly takes a shot at Will Smith, people listen. This wasn't about going viral. This was one of the architects of modern comedy saying something he felt.
You just sat up there and said 46 years in the business, 41 years doing movies, and your career was a success because you kept Will Smith's wife's name out your mouth.
Yeah. No, I said that's the blueprint.
To really understand Eddie's mindset, you have to rewind to the 2007 Oscars. Murphy lost Best Supporting Actor for Dreamgirls and, instead of smiling for the cameras, he stood up and walked out. Critics called him a sore loser. But Eddie's explanation was simple. He wasn't going to give Hollywood his disappointment as entertainment. He wasn't going to perform sadness for their show. That moment says everything about how he views awards culture. Fake, performative, and full of people pretending. So, when Eddie finally showed up at the Golden Globes to accept an award he couldn't realistically refuse, he used that moment to call out the same nonsense he's criticized for years. And to him, Will Smith with the Red Table Talk confessions, public tears, and emotional speeches represents everything he despises about modern celebrity culture.
Really felt like we could be over. You
Yeah,
know?
no, we were over.
And then what did you do, Jada?
Well, I think from there, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement with August.
Remember that Red Table Talk episode where Jada admitted to her relationship with August Alsina, while Will sat there playing the wounded, forgiving husband? The internet turned it into a meme. People laughed at the performance. But Carrey and Murphy see something deeper. They believe that interview wasn't raw honesty, it was strategy. A carefully managed PR move that monetized marital drama while reframing Will as the victim and the noble forgiver.
You and I were going through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And we decided...
I was done with your ass.
Yeah, you kicked me to the curb.
I was done with you.
Yeah.
Marriages have that, though.
By crying on camera, by choosing forgiveness in public. Will controlled the narrative. He became the center of his own scandal. And while the internet focused on that moment, long-standing rumors about his personal life quietly faded into the background. That's exactly what Jim Carrey meant. When he talked about the fake Imogene identity, carefully crafted and fiercely protected.
I think that it showed me that there were characters being played everywhere. That as an actor you play characters, and then if you go deep enough into those characters, you realize that your own character is pretty thin to begin with.
Now that both Carrey and Murphy have cracked the door open, people are finally asking questions that were off limits for years. And that leads us to what's been circulating online for a long time, but suddenly feels impossible to ignore. Let's start with Brother Bilal, Will Smith's former assistant. Bilal claims he once walked in on Will Smith and Dwayne Martin together in a hotel room. Skepticism is fair, but here's the reality about Hollywood assistants. They see everything. They're around when no one else is. And when they leave, some stories leave with them.
This is unlike him, right? So, all right, I open the door to Dwayne's dressing room, and that's when I see Dwayne and having anal sex with Will.
Let me process that for a second.
There was a couch, and Will was bent over on the couch, and Dwayne was standing up, killing him. Murder. It was murder in there.
These allegations don't keep resurfacing because people are bored. They resurface because they carry weight. Jaguar Wright has claimed that Will and Jada participated in disturbing rituals at their home, and that young men seeking mentorship left traumatized.
They're both they do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship.
That's a serious accusation, and Jaguar Wright isn't some random voice. She spoke out about Diddy long before it was safe to do so. This isn't about personal hatred toward Will Smith. It's about patterns. When legends like Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy start speaking up, old stories resurface. Like the one from Alexis Arquette. Before her passing, She claimed Will Smith's first marriage to Sherry Zampino ended after she allegedly caught Will in a compromising situation with his manager, Benny Medina. Back then, Hollywood didn't talk about stories like this. Silence protected careers. And for someone whose brand depended on being the perfect family man, a rumor like that could have ended everything. But there's something even earlier, something from 1993 during The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that might have been the very first warning sign everyone ignored.
And y'all need to get over yourselves. You have a huge production company that you only produce your friends, your family, and yourself. So you are a part of Hollywood. You are a part of the system that is unfair to other actors.
Janet Hubert was the original Aunt Viv for the first 3 seasons. And then, suddenly, she vanished. The story everyone heard? She was difficult, unprofessional, and hungry for attention. Same old Hollywood script. But years later, Janet revealed a very different reality. The real conflict was about money. She asked to be paid fairly, nothing more. When she refused to accept a bad contract, the industry turned on her fast. And instead of defending his co-star, Will Smith was reportedly the loudest voice painting her as the problem. Years later, Janet finally got her moment, sitting face-to-face with Will Smith and telling her side directly.
You know, words can kill. But I lost everything. Reputation, everything. And I understand you were able to move forward, but you know those words, calling a black woman difficult in Hollywood is the kiss of death. It's the kiss of death, and it's hard enough being a dark-skinned black woman in this business.
Now let's jump to 2012, when Will was filming Men in Black 3 in New York City, because this part is honestly wild. Even though Will already owned a luxury apartment in NYC, reports say he demanded production rent him a massive double-decker trailer. We're talking a 53-foot monster that allegedly cost close to $2 million. Inside, a full gym and more. The real issue was where it was parked, right in Soho. It blocked traffic, disrupted businesses, and made life miserable for locals with nonstop noise and fumes. When complaints poured in, Will reportedly refused to move it. This is someone worth hundreds of millions who could have stayed in a 5-star hotel or his own apartment, but instead insisted on keeping that trailer planted in a residential neighborhood simply because he wanted it there. That's not just celebrity privilege. That's someone who truly believed the rules didn't apply to him. And that mindset doesn't happen overnight. It's built after decades of protection and being treated as untouchable in Hollywood. Now fast forward to what happened after the Oscars slap, from a legal angle, because Jim Carrey raised a point that really matters. Chris Rock absolutely could have pressed charges. What happened was assault. It was on camera, seen by millions, and still, Chris Rock chose not to file anything to avoid the stress. Legal battles are brutal, especially for celebrities. You invite non-stop media chaos. But Jim Carrey saw it differently. He said if it were him, he would have filed a $200 million lawsuit because that moment will live forever, and the person who attacked you should pay for it.
They asked Chris, do you want to file charges? And Chris apparently said no, he did not.
He doesn't want the hassle. I'd announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. You know, that insult is going to last a very long time.
By not holding Will legally accountable, fans were quietly shown that violence does have consequences, just not if you're rich and powerful enough. And the bigger issue goes beyond Will and Chris. It affects comedy itself. Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle. These are legends who understand the unspoken agreement between comics and audiences. Comedians push boundaries. Audiences laugh. That's how the art survives. When someone rushes a stage and assaults a comedian over a joke, it's not just personal. It's an attack on the entire craft. Music. And that should worry anyone who cares about free speech and artistic expression.
Chris is one of those comics that he and Chappelle are the GOATs. And they're like the youngest, oldest comics in the world. They've been doing it since they were kids. And I think, you know, the contract you set up with the audience is that these are indeed jokes and we have to embrace our freedom of speech.
Now, this is where things get even more interesting. Psychologists and industry insiders weighed in on Will Smith's behavior, and honestly, it's unsettling. Doug Ellen, creator of Entourage, tweeted after the Oscars fallout, calling Will a gaslighting narcissist who turned the entire night into himself. That's a heavy accusation, but when you unpack it, it starts to connect. A gaslighting narcissist reframes situations to appear like the victim, twists narratives to protect their image, and makes everything revolve around them. Even when music, it clearly shouldn't. Through that lens, Will's actions look carefully constructed to position himself as the hero of his own story. This ties directly to Jim Carrey's Avatar idea. For 30 years, Will built a flawless image. The Fresh Prince, the family man, the feel-good superstar. Somewhere along the way, that image became more real than the person behind it. He stopped being human and became a brand that needed constant upkeep. Your body needs to be depressed. It needs deep rest from the character you've been trying to play. Now, the tension between Jim Carrey and Will Smith didn't start at the Oscars. It goes back decades. In the mid-1990s, Jim Carrey exploded onto the scene as a wild, unpredictable force with Ace Ventura. The movie became a surprise smash. Then came The Mask, a full cultural phenomenon that earned over $350 million worldwide. Carrey was everywhere, raw, loud, unapologetically himself. At the same time, Will Smith was still trying to transition from music and TV into film. The Fresh Prince was huge, but his movie career hadn't fully locked in yet. And here's where it gets interesting. Music. When The Mask was casting, Smith was reportedly considered for Stanley Ipkiss, but allegedly wasn't happy about losing the role to Carrey. Think about the timing. Carrey was becoming the biggest comedy star on the planet, while Smith was still finding his footing in movies. Smith had been famous since his teens, and suddenly there was a new guy stealing the spotlight. Some say Smith never really let that go. The role Carrey landed became iconic and cemented his A-list status. Smith had to wait longer for Bad Boys and Independence Day. And those extra years of waiting, people believe they planted the seeds of resentment.
I don't believe in icons. I don't believe in personalities. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise, beyond the red S that you wear on your chest that makes bullets bounce off. I believe that it's deeper than that. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself. And I don't care.
The 2023 Golden Globes moment was way bigger than it looked. Jared Carmichael hosted the show and delivered a moment that instantly made the room uncomfortable. He presented Music, Will Smith with a fake award. The Rock Hudson Award for Best Portrayal of Masculinity on Television.
While we were on commercial, we actually presented Will Smith with the Rock Hudson Award for Best Portrayal of Masculinity on Television. So please give it up for Will Smith, you guys. Please, please.
For context, Rock Hudson was a closeted old Hollywood star who played hyper-masculine roles while hiding his real life off-screen. Jared was clearly drawing a parallel. And here was the trap. If Will or Jada reacted badly, it would have looked like confirmation. So they smiled and stayed quiet while the audience awkwardly debated whether laughing was allowed. But that was just a setup. The real hit came during Eddie Murphy's speech.
Pay your taxes. Mind your business. And keep Will Smith's wife's name.
Eddie Murphy is a legend, and he doesn't joke without intention. When he took a shot at Will, the room reacted instantly. What many missed is what Murphy said later. He explained it wasn't just a joke. It landed because it was commentary on Will Smith's toxic masculinity. And everyone in that room knew exactly what he meant.
I don't imagine that Eddie Murphy is ever nervous about getting up there and speaking his mind, but the punchline in particular tonight, how did you prepare? Were you ready for it? Do you feel like it landed the way you wanted it to?
I thought it went fine. It wasn't a punchline. It was just like the end of my little acceptance speech. But I thought it worked. That joke worked, didn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't it? It worked.
I think so.
Got laughs.
They got laughs.
Got laughs.
After all of this, Will Smith released Emancipation, and it became a major disappointment. Music Week box office. No real awards buzz. And that matters, because for decades, Will Smith was Hollywood's safest bet. Studios trusted him. Audiences trusted him. His name meant guaranteed returns. But once voices like Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy started speaking up, something shifted.
How the play in a movie called Emancipation and you can't emancipate yourself?
Fans no longer blindly defend everything Will does. One commenter wrote, Will enjoys humiliating people publicly, not just Chris Rock, but even his own son. Jada faded after humiliating Will with the entanglement, and Jaden will eventually expose them all in a tell-all. Another said, when people think they can do whatever they want without morals, the truth always comes out. I hope they're held accountable. And here's the reality. Will Smith is still trying to regain Hollywood's trust, and the power players are keeping their distance. Not necessarily out of ethics, but risk. Music supporting Will Smith now feels dangerous. The once untouchable star is learning there's a limit to what Hollywood will tolerate. Not out of principle, but profit. When backing Will Smith starts looking like bad business, suddenly everyone gets cautious. For the first time in 30 years, Will Smith has nowhere left to hide. But what do you think? Are we finally seeing the real Will Smith? Drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.